I can give a few pointers to start, okay? This isn't going to be a plethora of answers that are spoon-fed together as we walk. It's going to be us detecting things that none of us see. That's the idea, revealing hidden things that are right in front of our noses. We're going to be kind of trying to understand how many layers of this landscape that we're in have suppressed layers before them and how they can be brought back out.
So I will be the sort of forensic hydrologist and have all you guys join me along. So like Alex said, this walk will sort of show how the past has formed the present, and then how both the past and the present can help shape a future.
Do these look familiar to anybody here?
No. The Grand Central Stones, they're called.
They were put here right after 1900. They were rebuilding Grand Central Terminal. The stone second from the south over there is Indiana stone, and that was chosen mostly because it was lightweight.
You sort of get this feeling when you're in Cortlandt Park that you're in an in-between zone, right? We have hints of the city. We have a piece of Grand Central Station here, right? But at the
proving ground.
A proving ground of that. And then at the same time, we're in nature, right? And it's some original part of the city's nature.
When you broaden your lens a little bit and you think about the other areas that Amanda might be referring to, you think of the Meadowlands and the other end of this spectrum of proving ground, where when Penn Station was torn down and all its ornaments were thrown into the Meadowlands, there's a parallel between that at the other end of a destruction of a building and the building of Grand Central Terminal here being the proving ground of how stones would weather before they were put up at the actual building in Midtown. The Putnam Rail was one of the many competing lines to New York City, many of which don't exist anymore, and this one its rails were pulled up, and much of its its rail bed was turned into a trail. You can take a bike from here and maybe leave the trail once or twice because it's not connected, all the way up to Brewster, New York, which is about as far up as Danbury, Connecticut. This is only one layer of its existence. You have to understand that rails were probably chosen also for their flat grade and their low-lying level in many cases. So what was here before that was probably a creek or a riverbed or a floodplain. So you have to always think about that as well. It's not that the rail is the first thing that occurred here.
This is one of the last remnants of what used to be a freshwater marsh in this entire area. So where we started our walk around Broadway, the Southwest, or the Kingsbridge area, and the playground used to all be a freshwater marsh.
What's happening is that the Tibbetts Brook came here, it was dammed, and then it was later intubated from here on. Yeah, put into a tube.
Tibbetts Creek disappears at this point, and we're going to go look at that point. And from there it goes into the sewer system.
It goes into, so this is where we connect to Broadway. In 1912, the city spent approximately $2.5 million in today dollars to reconnect the lake and to discharge it into the Broadway sewer, which runs underneath Broadway and goes all the way to the Wards Island wastewater treatment plant. During a rain event, you have all this stormwater going into a combined sewer along with their sanitary waste. So our treatment plants don't have enough capacity to treat stormwater in addition to our sanitary waste. So what they do is they shut down their gates, so everything goes out into the waterways. We're talking about
Into
waste
the Harlem River.
and storm combined into the Harlem River, essentially.
It's a false waterfall, actually. You think you're going to see something exciting when you get here, and really all that's happening is the water's becoming intubated. Recently, they daylighted parts of the Sawmill River in Yonkers. And what's interesting about that river is, in some areas, the river was just under a parking lot, and that was the first area that they daylit. But now they're continuing to follow the river up the city. It's a very hilly place. And some of the houses were built directly on top of the river, but they don't let that stop the daylighting plan. So you have, in the second phase of the daylighting, you have the river going underneath the foundations of the house and then re-emerging. You know, again, the land hasn't really been changed so much like it has in Manhattan, so you have a lot of the same topography. So we don't have to feel limited when we imagine what the daylighting of Tibbetts Creek can be, because we know they may have built it over the river. It doesn't mean it can't reemerge.
So you have the remnants of the freshwater marsh are right there, and then you have the actual brook here feeding into the combined sewer system. So on a day like today, beautiful sunshine, no rain, This is only going to the treatment plant, so it's actually being treated, even though it really doesn't have to be.
Thank you.
Straight on the came from outside the park. That's right.
This is really a rail bed, and it's going to go underneath a car crossing and then find its way along the Major Deegan. This is really the site of what they want to daylight as Tibbetts Creek. So it's like a doppelganger. It's not really Tibbetts. It's an offshoot, or it's a floodplain, or it's an easy fix because legally it's all right of way for the Putnam.
Potentially all the way down to the Harlem River and connect it to where it once was. So we'll just head down to show you how that connection could occur outside the park, because it's easy to get it done in the park, but then
Right. Let's see how it connects. On the other side of this fence, we want to show you something, but we have to get there. So let's cross the street and look at all this. All this stuff grew. These things weren't planted here. None of these trees were planted here. Nothing's happening in there. And it could be the natural flow of the river could be reinstituted, a daylighting scheme, but also for a flow of people.
if you look at the map, you'll notice how close we really are to Harlem River. It's not even a mile away.
Extremely close.
It's really possible to get this done one day.
See this little swath of land over here? Very stubborn. It just continues all the way down.
And maybe one day this will be a really nice before shot to compare to what we'll have in the future. So.